Well, so much of what we talked about here today has been around scaling and sort of promoting really the best of the best, what I'd call like account executives, leasing people, right? And now we're enabling them to do more, do better, and kind of getting them out of like little random data entry stuff, right? And a lot of that is just trying to get them to find those moments to really create even better experience to that customer and feel like it's personalized. So I think it's analyzing, again, so anything that's gonna be personalizing that customer experience without making it really creepy, right? I think that's why everybody's like, you know, why do I have random ads in Facebook, right? So I think honestly, and it'll be moving to, and kind of this last topic that we were talking about from a self-guided tour, it's almost like augmented reality tour, where it's like you're still there, it's still real estate, it's still a considered purchase. I mean, my investments team is not buying a single thing unless they go and walk it like 5 times. And I think that there's just that mentality. Yes, it's come about. I think it's of like sight unseen touring, but there's something about whether it's virtual reality, hey, I'm sitting in my room and now I can see something across the country, the city, whatever. But then there's the augmented reality thing where you can go and walk it. Maybe that's some glasses or whatever, and you kind of see what it looks like when it's alive kind of situation. Starts to really push the envelope on, you know, sort of like people that can't visualize where my couch fits, where my bed is, and it really becomes another tool in that leasing team's toolbox in that city to, you know, create a little customer differentiation.
I would say, what's the next? So I think a theme while we've been here these couple of days has been around the dominance of AI. And I think our industry, of course, is no different. I have already shared with you my vision for that in our resident space and also on the service side. And I think that will naturally grow. I think centralizing some of the things that David talked about that our data entry or our teams are doing on the sites and solutions that help lift that to create operational efficiencies will be key, because I think where I started today was we have leads galore and we're always trying to outwin our competitors in the space. So we need to get stuff off our people so that they partner with technology and work more leads, whether those are your existing customers that live with you, because let's be honest, if you can keep them happy and keep them with you and keep raising rents, that's really where the bread and butter is. It's not on the front end bringing somebody in, because I still have to pay money to turn the apartment home and market to find you and all of that good stuff. So I think our industry and technologies have made a good start in the resident space. I think the pandemic really like jump-started all of the virtual community events and things like that, but I don't feel like we've really seen the comprehensive solution for that space around really creating that community and augmenting. I think we have pieces and parts and some good ideas, but really not a slam dunk that I've seen. Maybe I'll ask these guys, maybe they know something I don't know, or maybe you guys know something, you can tell me after that, but I think that will evolve. And then I also think we have to respond to the staffing crisis that's going on in our industry, and I think technology helps that through some of the operational efficiencies but also in the maintenance, and especially in our maintenance area, we're all struggling to keep our property staffed and provide great service. And let's be honest, the resident who moves in stays with you not because you're the greatest, but probably because they have a non-eventful life. If they have an eventful life with you when they stay with you, that's where they start looking to your competitor to find the easier non-eventful life through service. So I think that's what we'll see.
Michele?
I have a dream.
Okay.
I don't know that we'll see this, but what I've been working with on the front lines with our teams is not just their ability to perform, but their agility. So going back to a doesn't fit all scenario by community, it also doesn't work that way by client, by prospect. So I found actually our most successful tour has been a fusion of a self-guided and a live virtual tour, meaning having a client walk through the apartment space while we're Zooming with them from the office to answer questions at some point during that conversation. So is our leasing team prepared to take any step? Are they thinking creatively on how to really connect with the customer? Now back to my dream, because that's solving for the customer experience, which is something I think we lose sight of in all of this. We keep trying to solve for operations because of our crisis with, do we have enough team members out there to actually get the job done? And so the technology is definitely supporting us and backfilling in that. But my dream is there a way at any point in time that we can get to a one-source login for the leasing professional to be able to take them through any experience that they can craft without logging into 10 different platforms to get it done, or trying to recall their password in the platform that they're trying to connect with that client. So I know that sounds very simplistic, but I'm going to keep dreaming. Well, I'm hiring leasing professionals that have the ability and the agility to try to move about the cabin.
I think same problem at a higher level. I was joking with somebody yesterday in the vendor forum over there that I want to open my electrical panel door at Bell Partners and not see a jacked up mess, because we plugged in 40 different things, and I'd really like that to be 5 things that do all of it. And I think some of the efficiencies there really just people don't think about, for every new solution that isn't more comprehensive, that's a separate integration that somebody has to know about, that is a separate contract with a vendor. So less that does more is always a good thing. But then I think, to your point, for our leasing professionals, you don't have to train 50 different things and how they all work and where you go for this and what have you. That would be simplistic, which is going to make them more effective.
Well, I think Michele, if there was a single sign-on experience, that would likely flow as well into better integration. And you guys have all mentioned the importance of flexibility, not just having the exact same solutions at all of your communities, but being able to be flexible to the prospect and the asset. And so that competes with wanting to just have one platform or a couple of platforms. So to me, the key is going to be integration and having that really smooth and efficient kind of tech stack, more tech stack.
And we're starting to see some vendors in that space, so they're getting that. So my suspicion would be that's coming.
Yeah. Clint, to you for the final
I'll
say.
just add more on that. I think from the technology side, we're thinking about it a little bit differently than we used to. It's not just the value that you're driving to your customer, but making it work in your ecosystem and running parallel to other technology platforms. And how do you make those, because getting to that simplistic ideal world means they have to be able to plug and play and put in systems. So figuring out from technology, what do we want to be the best at, and then who do we want to make sure that we're running parallel and using video for our specific use case. That's all I can speak to amplify other efforts and other pieces of technology, because it's really about creating that community outside your four walls and improving the resident experience. And then from the recruitment side, being able to attract and retain talent, right? To create a culture of recognition where people feel valued and they stayed, right? And sometimes we overcomplicate business. It's just people working with people, and people want to work with people they like and trust. And there's not, not to get all cheesy, but there's not a person in the world you couldn't learn to love if you didn't know their story or relate to on some capability. We know that in our personal lives, and we fail to remember that sometimes in the thick of business. Like, figure out what your business story is, figure out how you're telling that story externally, and figure out what your employee story is, and then figure out how technology can help amplify that, and you'll improve the experience over time. But again, it's not a light switch, so.
Awesome. Really great perspective from everybody. I don't know if I just shafted us and we don't no longer have the time for the questions. How are we doing, James?
We're doing good. We have time for probably one or two questions, depending on how long-winded folks are feeling. First question, pretty interesting. Are you finding that different regions or markets have a stronger preference towards a tech-forward leasing experience? I see you nodding, Michele.
I have. I mean, just one example, the DC market, most of our clientele prefers the self-guided touring process. And they will connect with a leasing professional at some point in time, but we've actually had a 12.8 conversion ratio tour to lease without a leasing person being involved in DC.
Wow.
And then if I relocate to my Turtle Creek market outside of Dallas, we have folks that are taking the self-guided tours. But usually it's a follow-up or it's just a prelude. It's more of a preview of the community. They still want to go through the full experience and process with the leasing teams. So that's, a suburban market, but also a higher dollar value, and we're seeing similar patterns through our portfolio of that happening.
I would just add onto that any of our new development or lease-up environments are a slam dunk for self-guided.
Wow.
So in fact, we will have probably anywhere from 12 to 15 apartment homes tagged for self-guided, and they move 40 or better % of their leases through those channels.
Wow, that's fascinating. Was a DC workaholic myself. I can see why we might want to just jump on in without taking the time. That's fun. And then next question, we have time for one more. I'm trying to think of one that'll be quick. This one, if we can be quick on it. What recommendations do you have for smaller owner and operators who have smaller budgets on leasing tech on which they should invest in first?
Solve your biggest business problem and find the solution. Spend your money on solving your biggest business problem.
Awesome. Cool. Well, round of applause for our panel. Thank you so much for joining us today. A huge thank you to Max and to Clint and Rentsync and Convey for sponsoring our session today. Thank you, everyone.